Okay, welcome everyone. Good afternoon. We're here for our October webinar for AEDY, and today we have a few things for you to share with you through the course of the next hour or so. I ask any of the participants that are joining us today if you would kindly just mute your mic from your end so that we can be sure that everyone can hear the presentation and the materials in front of us today. So if you would just kindly mute your mic on your end, we're ready to go. So I'm on with my colleagues here today. My name is Gina Colarossi, and I am a team member of the AEDY group from PaTTAN, and I'm joined today by one of my colleagues, Jess Keener-Hawes. And Jess, you are going to start us off with our PowerPoint today.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. So today we're going to give you some updates. Yesterday we did the statewide presentation for compliance monitoring. We had about 215 participants as we went through the entire process of monitoring and the beginning stages of preparation, as well as some of the referral information and application information for all parties that are going to be going through compliance monitoring this year. So today, we wanted to give you a brief overview of some of the points that we went over yesterday, one of which we alluded to the fact that a chairperson or a point of contact will be assigned to each provider that will be monitored this year. The chair people are Gina, Jess, or Kat at this point from PaTTAN, and we will be your point of contact if you have questions, concerns. You can't see my screen. Questions, concerns regarding. Oh, you guys can't see my PowerPoint? I apologize. Let me.
And Cross wasn't doing as much. Today he had a sub. So
you have that? Can you see the screen now? Can somebody type in the chat box if you can?
But otherwise, I would have to pull him from English or from.
Can you guys all mute your mics?
In order to do any testing or anything.
Thank you. All right, I apologize for not sharing my screen. I thought it was shared. So back to the point of contacts. So that would be Jess, Gina, or Kat Zimmerman. We will readily be working with you as we work to currently revise your application so it's in alignment for the upcoming monitoring. We will also note that the field yesterday asked for us to create a Q&A, and we are currently gathering all of the questions from yesterday's training and creating a repository of a Q&A, and look for that sometime next week to come out.
So Jess, tomorrow through our leader services notifications, everyone who is listed as a contact within the leader services system under AEDY should be receiving our weekly notifications. This is a great feature for us because things are rapidly moving and changing. And so in order for us to stay most up to date with the field, we just want to be sure that the contact information that you have submitted is accurate. I would encourage you to go on, make sure that all of your emails are up to date. We understand that staffing does shift, but if the contacts are not up to date, you will not be receiving those weekly notifications. And so as a result of yesterday's training, we will have sent out, for those of you who might not have been able to make it, that's okay. You'll have the PowerPoint as well as the recorded training available to you tomorrow afternoon.
The other point of note was that we are regularly updating the AEDY page on the PaTTAN website as we went over yesterday. We're readily creating resources for you so that you have the most up-to-date repository of information as you continue this work to get your applications approved. And If you require follow-up or have questions or concerns, all our email addresses will be at the end of this PowerPoint for direct contact to us, and we will get back to you in a very timely manner to help support you through this process. Next we have, sorry, Gina, did you want to interject?
So Jess, maybe we should, what we could do right now is just kind of give everyone some points in terms of our reviews that we've done before, because many other programs who have received their applications back, if you're a private provider or an in-house program, the majority of you have received your applications back with a provisional letter attached to them. And again, some of those areas of review would have been the complaint process. And what we had requested from all programs was for you to revise 3 sections of that complaint. You can find that language within the rejection note of your application. You can also find it within the notifications that we have sent out by going to the AEDY website for Leader Services, and you will see there before you even log in, there are 3 PDFs. And so one of the areas that we have noted needs to be revised when we had sent your applications back was the complaint process. And the first area that we looked at was to say that we needed you to remove the statement where it required the complainant to identify the regulatory language in order to file a complaint. And so that's no longer required. We asked everyone to simply remove that line from their complaint process, from their document. The second area was the signature. And so while we are certainly requiring the contact information within the application, we need to know how to contact that complainant. We will not require a signature for them to submit for either the local or state to follow up with that complainant. The last area of the complaint process that we requested revision was to say that where the LEA or the AEDY program was receiving that complaint, that it would be an and in terms of any action once the complaint was filed, meaning that either program or sending, LEA, would work together towards resolving that complaint. And so anywhere where you had the language of or in reference to the program or how it was that you would be communicating with the complainant, that language would be an and, that the AEDY program and the sending LEA would work together towards resolve of that complaint. The state process will also be reflective of that. So that was one area, Jess, I know we had substantial changes to simply because of the timing of when all of that information became available and then the timing of the information that we received from the field.
And as I reviewed other applications, I started to see trends and I wanted to make you aware of the errors. Specifically within the handbook, if you are an in-house provider, please make sure the handbook is AEDY specific. It is not a middle school or high school handbook. It's very specified to the program we will be reviewing. Another area was ensure that all your policies, practices, and procedures are updated, and because we will be reviewing them very carefully, particularly within the handbook. Your hours. You are required to meet the 990-hour threshold, and lunch is not inclusive in that 990 hours. We're looking for instructional time. So make sure when you're typing in your schedules and uploading the calendar and any information related to that, it will meet the 990-hour threshold. We will be reviewing that on site as well. Another area was you often noted that you had a positive behavior management system, the restraint. However, you didn't note it at the staff level. So you need to go into each of your staff and denote the date that they received their certification to use restraint if it was completed. We will again be looking for that minimally several staff in your program are trained, if necessary, to use safe crisis management, CPI, some form of approved restraint. Those were the big areas that we noted as I reviewed very many of these. Okay. Again, if you have questions, if you think that there's something that may be questionable, please reach out to us and we will help you work through that as you get these applications completed for November.
And then Jess, I'd just like to also toggle on that in terms of the behavior plans and positive behavior support. For those of you that, you know, and we understand that throughout the field that this has been a large shift in terms of what we are now requesting from programs. And so if the program should not have an MTSS framework, a universal framework where behavioral expectations you know, are outlined in terms of tiers and supports and interventions available for all students, what we would simply ask is that you have a conversation individually with with myself, with Jess Keener-Hawes, so that we can prepare you for how individually you may be able to support your program in providing a narrative, a training plan as you're working towards that end. And so again, we understand that you're going to be building these pieces within your program, and we will work with you towards providing that training and support on that end.
Okay. Francine, are you with us?
Jess, I had just heard from her, and while she's in, she's not able to. So what I will do is I will advance and work through our EL slides. I know Francine will be available for our 2 on-site training days here at PaTTAN. And so we'll go through her slides that we have here, provide those to the field, and then we'll do some follow-up with Francine at our next time. Okay, so what we have next in front of us here, we have our outcomes for EL, and what we are asking from the field are several things. So if you're a private program, AEDY provider, an IU, or an in-house program, the expectation would be that you have all of the necessary supports for students in terms of the implementation of what is expected for the EL student in their individual EL plan. That expectation would be that that the student would have an individualized EL plan, and that you would be using, and you're looking at our requirements for EL students statewide, and then the programmatic pieces that align to the provision of service. In review of many applications so far, many of our programs have selected to use this document, which is located on the application. And you can click on that link to locate this. You can actually add a column to the right of this document. And what our programs have been doing successfully is telling us where and who and how each of these requirements would be met within the AEDY program, whether you're sending LEA and responsible certainly for all the assessment information and the identification, and then receiving from that program, being able to implement what has been provided to you. So you're looking right now at the legal requirements for EL. You have an Office of Civil Rights description here. Everyone can read through that at their convenience.
I apologize. I'm clicking. I'm muting mics as well.
Thank you. Thanks, Jess. And so what's important as you're looking at each of these slides, as Jess is advancing us through, is that English language learners should have and are required to have by law the same educational opportunity, whether they're sitting in an AEDY program or whether they are are within that in-house program receiving their AEDY program. So the expectation again is that what the student receives within the district would be eligible for all students. So if you would give me just 1 minute, I'm going to make sure that all of our mics are muted, and I want to see if I can get a hold of our, let's see, okay. Okay, well, we're still experiencing some difficulty with PaTTAN Pittsburgh in terms of getting them looped in, but that's okay. We're going to continue to walk through the application process as it applies to EL students. And so you're looking right now, Jessa, just take
you want to go through the service plan?
Yep, so hang on here. So in looking at this side by side here, I had just described how many of our programs are using this document here to advise PDE and the PaTTAN AEDY team as to how students who are English language learning are accessing services, whether you're the sending LEA and providing that certified teacher. We would see that information within your sending LEA application. And if it's not there, simply through the revision process that you would be adding it. And so again, I point to this document. I will actually make this document available through your application just to make sure that everyone has access to it if they select to use it. So in each of the areas of requirements, whether it be identification of ELs, or the provision of instruction or ensuring that integration of instruction, the expectation is that the sending LEA and the receiving program actively work together towards the provision of the student's individualized EL plan.
You already talked about this one.
Yep. Okay. So again, we're looking at the development of our culturally responsive educational systems within our AEDY programs. And again, we do understand that many of our programs haven't had an opportunity yet maybe to receive a student who's English language learning, but the expectation is that their program, our programs, are set with the same fidelity and they have the same opportunities for our students and their practices and the policies of your programs to reflect the culture and equity that we would expect to see in all programs serving our students. Okay, next slide, we're looking at our school-wide systems for student success and our Pennsylvania MTSS model. And you'll see our graphic here in the center, equitable access for all students. Okay. And then aligned on the left-hand side, I think many are familiar with our tiers and our academic systems. And then certainly on our right-hand column here, we're looking at the behavioral systems that we would expect our AEDY programs to have in place for all students. And new to our application process this year is our MTSS framework, and we are asking folks, again, if they do not have the tiered components set in their programs as of yet, that you're establishing the necessary supports, reaching out to PaTTAN, your local intermediate unit, or if you're using some other capacity to build your program's professional development, that you have the ability to provide that information to us in the form of a training plan. And we would certainly review that training plan as you're working through your application process. Okay, we've included for you here the state regulation and code in Chapter 4 and what is required. I'm just going to move some of this here so I can see. Okay, so every school district providing a student whose dominant language is not English, and you know, it's certainly regulatory by nature, but also the fact that that sending LEA is confirming that these supports and services that students who are English language learning are receiving, whether it be in their school district program or in the program that the school district has authorized for them to attend. The next document we felt was critical to share with you is our BEC, and many of you, again, you may have seen this before. It is our English language learner or educating English learners. Our last date of review of this was in 2017, and you'll see we've outlined here the purpose of why it is that we're doing what we're doing. And one of the things that certainly we had our settlement agreement that occurred, excuse me, this past March, and we're working through the implementation of that with you statewide as we're learning through this process. But what was, I think, pretty evident in terms of our conversations in the past was that we had a large shift in terms of saying that students with English language learning would receive any service that they had via their individualized plan, whether it be in their former program in their school district or whether it be in their temporary placement within AEDY. And so it was critical for us to just lay out the regulatory authority for all to know that regardless of where the student is seated in terms of English language learning, that they have a right to the educational opportunity outlined in their individualized L plan. Okay, so English language instruction is obviously part of and integrated within the content instruction and academic language of the student's day. And so how does that relate to what it is that the student is receiving within AEDY programming? And I've had multiple conversations with many of our providers in saying to them that when you use the side-by-side and you're looking at the integration of instruction, the expectation is if that sending LEA is providing that teacher, that you're working with that teacher side-by-side to provide that instruction to that student, that it shouldn't be simply instruction behind a computer or instruction that the student receives in isolation. The expectation would be that that child's plan is integrated into the academic instruction that they're receiving within the AEDY program. Inclusive of the WIDA assessment or any other assessment that's done on that child, that the AEDY program is aware of those child's goals and where they are in the process of learning English as it relates to their instruction of their 990 hours within the program.
Gina, I'm just going to interject with some of Francine's language that she had sent along with this.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, this model is just to illustrate the need for all teachers to support English learners. It's based on the English learner receiving 1 hour of ELD, ESL instruction in a typical 8-period school day. Our sessions will unpack these two critical components. This redesigned framework includes 2 key elements that work together to provide a comprehensive approach to limited English proficiency. ELD focused language study, which is the dedicated time where Ls are strategically grouped together to concentrate on critical language Ls need on a grade level learning in English language that native English speaking peers typically already know. And 2, that discipline specific academic language expansion. Academic language instruction throughout the day and integrated across various content areas. Teachers provide an intentional focus on content-specific language demands and academic language that Ls, along with their native English-speaking peers, must develop. All right, so the next slide she goes into shows the WIDA performance definitions, if you were not already aware. When teaching English language learners, it's important to note that the quantity and linguistic complexity will be dependent on the English language proficiency, ELP, level of the student. The WIDA screener or the WIDA access for ELS test scores will provide teachers with that information. For example, students at early proficiency levels, levels 1 and 2, will not necessarily be able to write complex sentences, but will certainly begin the writing process by sketching and potentially adding key vocabulary that has been explicitly taught. The use of the pictorial representations with words or chunks of language is a good start for ELS at level 1. Teachers must familiarize themselves with the WIDA performance indicators in order to understand what ELS know and are able to do at each level of English proficiency. As students move into level 3, developing, or level 4, expanding, they can continue to develop their writing skills by writing expanded sentences with emergent complexity and organized expression of ideas, with emerging cohesion in sentences and paragraphs. As students progress towards level 5, bridging, the varying language structures with increased grammatical accuracy and a broad range of sentence patterns can be expected. It is important to note that writing instruction should be taught simultaneously with reading, speaking, and listening skills for students at all proficiency levels. These 4 skills complement each other and help students to develop a language proficiency as well as content knowledge. Focus on productive domains of speaking and writing. Here's where you can find that she's talking about the standards.
And
go ahead.
I'm going to relate this slide of assessment and how do we know if English learners are making progress. One of the key factors I think is critical for providers to know is where exactly, as Jess has mentioned, students are in their proficiency of English. And so the WIDA results and the assessments would be a critical key factor of that child's record that would be important to have. And so as we're working through some of our system linkages and requiring that overall plan, the expectation would be is that that the program, sending LEA and program, would communicate as it relates to the English language learners' current assessments, where they are with their progress monitoring, and any other formative or curriculum-based assessments that the student is leaving that LEA with for their temporary placement in the AEDY.
And this is just a plug for future presentations, December 10th and January 14th. Please mark your calendars, as our colleagues will be able to give a more in-depth review of the necessary components of the EL service plan and how to integrate that into your AEDY program.
And I believe, Jess, they can get on and register. So please mark your calendars, but more importantly, save the date and go in there and register to hear our colleagues, as Jess had indicated. Okay, so we're going to jump back into, we started our presentation today with just reviewing some of the highlights of the application process. And for those of you that had been on yesterday, you have also heard a little bit about our referral process. So we knew this year, for those of you that didn't use the system last year, and I think that there were more that didn't than did, our referral process requires all sending LEAs to initiate the pre-referral, and within that pre-referral process, they enter their demographics, they go through the criteria of the child, one of the 6 criteria of the child being referred to AEDY, and then they move forward within the referral process to identify the behaviors and interventions and the criteria of what is causing the student to be referred to AEDY. There are many areas within the referral that when they are blank, will not permit you to submit or move forward within the referral process. And so it's important to note that when you're reaching out and you don't have the informal date entered and you don't have the documentation uploaded, you will not be able to send that information to anyone in terms of selecting the program that you want to send the child to without having gone through the necessary steps prior to that. And so we would encourage everyone to look at the notifications that are from prior weeks. There are 3 that are listed there. And what we're trying to do within the course of our weeks in communication with you in the field and with Leader Services is capture the most critical questions and the questions that we're hearing the most from the field, so that we can put those back out to you with screenshots and responses from either the PD team or PaTTAN team working together, or our colleagues in Leader Services. And so we've heard today, Jess and I alone, from a number of districts who are trying to get that referral pushed forward to placement and cannot. And so again, I will tell you that if your student is a student with a disability and you have not uploaded that information into the system, manifestation, invite, IEP documents, you will not be able to move the document forward. A second piece I will say here is that if you do not have an application, so not a referral, but an application on file, you will also not be able to move further. And so critical in this piece, if we can assist you with this in terms of how to get your application submitted, please reach out to either Jess, myself, or Kat Zimmerman. We can assist you with getting the application to a point where you can begin the referral process. Okay, up and coming in our future training plan, for those of you who have not had an opportunity to look at the training plan, we had outlined yesterday just statewide how to go and look for that on PaTTAN's website. Again, we're trying to focus on those areas that we know are newer as a result of the settlement agreement, or just maybe simply newer because you're new to AEDY programming. And so we have put in for updated trainings for English language, and we have provided you both of those dates. We're also going to be spending some time in the near future, very near future, as a matter of fact, to review our students with disabilities, the manifestation determination, and what is required of the manifestation determination. So we will go more in depth in each of these topics, inclusive of behavior as well, to ensure that you have the necessary supports from us to be able to move ahead with programming, appropriately, effectively for all of our students.
Gina, we have a question. Is there a place on the referral for sending LEA to check the box as to expulsion, yes or no? Yes, there is. There's no way for me to know if it is an expulsion. The referral says suspension or expulsion. I often have to wait for the district to get back to me to tell me which one it is.
Okay, and so what we will do is we will take a look at that on the application to see where it's located, and it's quite possible if that we need to readjust where it is on the screens and how to answer that. So would you do me a favor, and at the end of our presentation today, if you would just kindly send a note to Jess and I via email, and we will be following up with Leader Services and with our PDE partners just to solidify that answer. We will respond back to you individually, and then for the field, what we're trying to do is, and we had indicated this, Jess did at the beginning of this presentation, we're going to start a Q&A Google Doc, and actually it's well underway, and we'll make that public so that the questions that are asked, whether it's in this forum or in our presentation yesterday, that we're coordinating those questions and answers to you in one seamless document. So if you could do that for us, I would appreciate that. That way, your question will go answered not only to you, but also to the field. So we appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, and so next, our slide here, we have our notifications, and I had indicated how to update that contact information so we can ensure that the right people are hooked into our communications. The Train the Trainer series for safety care is up, and you can go ahead and register for our safety care training. That training, there are 2 sessions that are occurring for safety care. We will be providing that here in Harrisburg, and the first set of dates are really right around the corner. It's November 5th, and it's a November 5th, 6th, and 7th training for the core curriculum. And we're also offering an advanced skills day, which will occur on November 8th. We do have a series along the same lines, 3 days of core curriculum and 1 day of advanced skills for safety care that will be presented in March, beginning on March 10th. But for those of you that have operated and you know, Jess and I have operated in the field, this is a great opportunity for you to take 2, 3 team members, whatever you see necessary in terms of building your team's capacity within your AEDY program. Safety Care is a well-known company and provides great support, and it's free of charge. So kindly register on the website. And again, this is part of our support here at PaTTAN to the field to get you, you know, and your teams ready for the, you know, just interactions that just sometimes occur between students and staff and students within our educational settings. So what I will do tomorrow within the notification is I will give you the registration key. There's a separate registration key for the 3 and the 4 day, and I will send that out within the notifications for anyone who's interested in joining into our safety care training. Okay, let me just readjust my screen here.
We also want to note that the MTSS Behavior Series will be coming, and is started with Nicole Holland-Sims.
And registration is up for that too, Jess. I failed to mention that before. So folks can register for Nicole and to see the MTSS trainings as well as safety care.
And then, as Gina already mentioned earlier in this presentation, we readily update on Leader once a week, and we keep the repository of updates on the front screen, the login screen, excuse me, of the Leader site. Again, I keep referencing the PaTTAN.net. You click support, and then you click AEDY, and we're constantly updating resources and different supportive materials for you in the field. Look for the Google Doc coming out next week with the questions and answers specific to the field, and this 3rd Thursday webinar from 3 to 4:30. Next month, we're looking at special education as a focus. And then here is our direct contact information for support.
And Jess, we'll be getting the recorded presentation from today out to everyone so that they have that. Typically our turnaround is very, very short. So if I can coordinate all of that and put that within your notification, you'll see it all linked in together.
It also will be updated on the PaTTAN site under webinars as episode 2.
Okay, I'm just going to go to the chat box and make sure that I don't have anything else here. Okay, and I don't. So I want to thank everyone. I know it's been a very, very busy week for AEDY, and if you've committed to the time yesterday and the time today, we certainly thank you. This is a work in progress for us here at PaTTAN as we design and develop our monitoring systems and training and support that's needed for the field. Again, as I had mentioned yesterday, I just want to sincerely tell everyone that if you have some feedback for us that you think would be beneficial, we are open and we would appreciate knowing what that is. So kindly reach out, whatever method is best for you. So we thank everyone today, and I'll turn it over to Jess just to close.
Just wanted to say thank you again, and our contact information is there if you need to follow up with us. Have a great day. Thank you for your participation.